All right. Let's end our screen share and get started. Hi, everybody. It's so great to see you all. Checking out all my screens here. So we really assembled a beyond expert group of panelists that you see before you right now. We have Jill Holnick with BBYO, Chief Impact and Innovation Officer. Rabbi Kahan is the Director of God Israel. Rachel Zivick is our Principal of, oh nice, guest wave, hi, please. Kellen Brown Academy. Sarah Simon with JCC Camps at Medford. Lisa David is our Director of Camp Harlem. And Rabbi Joel Sautzer is our Executive Director of Ramah. So thank you guys all really for joining us today. We beyond appreciate it. A few notes, we're gonna be using the chat and sending out some links for you to click on and to be aware. You also can please use the Q&A function. If you have any questions for our panelists, please use the Q&A. It helps us keep it all clean. And if you just wanna say hi, feel free to do that in the chat. So we're gonna get started. So let's go ahead and kick it off with Jill with BBYO. Hi, Jill.
Hello, everybody. Charlene, can you just pull up our summer programs homepage?
Yes.
BBYO is offering summer programs, but they're all offered virtually this summer. And if you could just scroll down a tiny bit more, we have 5 primary programs that are paid for experiences. The first 2, CLTC Connect and Movement Makers, these are our core summer programs, similar to what we normally offer during the year. CLTC and ILTC Movement Makers is kind of a 1.0 and a 2.0 version of summer programs. You can keep going back up, Charlene. Just at the, yeah, great. So CLTC Connect and Movement Makers are mostly for teens that are already in BBYO, and CLTC is for rising 10th and 11th graders, Movement Makers for rising 11th and 12th graders, and again, opportunities for leadership development. The next 2, the middle bucket, Perlman Academy, as well as the Building the Future of Aleph Tzadik Aleph. So these are primarily for female leaders, as well as our male leaders, or anybody who identifies as an Aleph or a BBG. And these are 1-week experiences taught virtually. Our BBG Leadership Academy is actually waitlisted, but we may open up another session if there's enough interest. And then the last piece is Jewish Enrichment Innovations. And this is anything from song leading, Judaism and pop culture. We have modern day Israel session. And so these are 4-day sessions, 75 minutes each, and just a small fee for these. So these are our core experiences, and you can, if you drop down, you can see when they're offered. They're offered all kinds of times of day. We know our teens, some of them are babysitting, some of them have jobs, so they're offered during the day, at night, and you can see multiple sessions of each. We have about 500 teens registered currently and gaining more every day from all over the country. You can imagine mostly in the Northeast where folks aren't back in session. And the last piece that I would tell you about is we have a Global Israel Fellowship where teens can apply to by June 27th, they need to apply. They get $1,000 off of a summer program, either our ILTC Kala or an Israel trip next year. And they are learning about how to have difficult dialogues amongst their peers, and they will be trained facilitators in Israel Dialogue, and then have sessions that they will host throughout the year. So this is a year-long fellowship, starts over the summer, and gets them $1,000 off of some of our summer experiences. Again, due June 27th. And then the last thing I'd say is we will be opening up in-person programming for across the country. And if there are teens interested specifically in South Jersey, I just encourage you to touch base with my local professional, Sarah Nussbaum. If they're interested, all of our programs are teen-led, so they would be developing their own programs.
Thanks, Jill. I'm going to add Sarah in the chat right now. Sarah Nussbaum in the chat right now. All right, perfect. Thank you so much, and we'll look back around in a second. Rabbi Kahan, I'd love to go over to hear from you what you're doing this summer.
Thank you, Jill, and thank you, Charlene, for putting this together. Months ago we hoped and thought that the summer would be untouchable, but the unfortunate reality is different. So we at Camp Gan Israel decided to take two paths. Number one, we're finishing the developing of an in-home program for children to experience CGI in a box. We're launching it in a couple of days, where children will have a couple of hours a day. We were trying to move away from the virtual Zoom experience that the children have had throughout the past few months with school, and try to give them more hands-on and a camp feel. But independent of that, we focused a lot of our energy in trying to create a in-person program. We knew it was going to be difficult. There's a lot of challenges, but we felt, and as we all know, how important it is to have an in-person program. So with guidance of local doctors and health professionals, we are happy to announce that we opened registration on Friday. Yes, it is a modified program. Our capacity is limited. We are doing it for 6 weeks. The hours are a bit shorter. We're going to be hosting it at the Chabad Center in Cherry Hill. The New Jersey guidelines don't allow off-site activities, so we're going to be stationed there. So we're dealing with sports professionals and trying to figure out how we could structure to stay outdoors as long as we can. There is beautiful space indoors, but as much as we can, we want to give children and parents that really need it, and many children need it, but at least the ones that are willing and need to take that step, to give them that in-person experience. It's a new endeavor here. I've learned a lot over the past few months with so many of the protocols, and even the New Jersey, I was just on a webinar yesterday with the New Jersey Health Department, hearing so many things as they are discovering it. But we are very excited that we are confident that we are going to make this work. Thankfully, a few of my colleagues in California already started on Monday. So I told them I'm going to be learning on their 2-week experience, being that we are opening July 6th. So we are excited, motivated, and we are looking to cater to both sets of groups, whether it's the in-house, but also the at-home, the CGI in a box, but also the in-person experience. And information can be found on our website, as Charlene shared just briefly.
Thanks, Rabbi. All right, Lisa, can you share with us a bit?
Absolutely. Thanks for the opportunity. Nice to see everyone. I'm Lisa David, the director of Camp Harlem, which is the URJ Reform Movement residential camp located in the Poconos. Sadly, due to COVID, we are not opening our on-site program this summer, but we've been working hard to remain engaged with our families and our alumni and other stakeholders, and are excited that we have some alternatives to offer for the summer. We're offering a program that we've called Harlem at Home, and I think we can put in the chat the link to the website where you'll see lots of details. In summary, it's we're offering 3 one-week sessions for campers entering grades 2 through 8. We are doing teen programming that will be offered virtually towards the end of the summer. And the goals for us for this program, there's 3. One is connection, making sure people feel supported and connected to the community. The next is engagement, making sure that they have opportunities to learn and grow and try new things. And the last is inspiration, because all of us need that, whether it's in the form of friendships or Shabbat or whatever it is that camp can provide virtually for you this summer. We want people to feel inspired by being involved. The programs are built around different age groups. There's bunk and unit time to build small connections with smaller groups, as well as track and specialty programs around things like arts and adventure, Teva, our nature program, and what we call highlights, which are the favorite activities that we offer at camp, like tie-dye, which you'll be able to do at home, and cooking along with our instructors. So we're excited about those programs. The Reform Movement is also launching a program called RJ on the Go, which will be interactive Jewish experiences for families. They're going to be on demand on the website, and it features everything from science experiments to Israeli dancing to cooking demos, coding classes. They're essentially bringing all of the URJ camps together to offer programming to families that may not have had a Reform Jewish camping experience before. So more information will be shared soon about all of those. And then throughout the summer, for those who are not necessarily looking for a commitment like a camp program, we have other ways to get involved in things like our civic engagement campaign, where we're trying to ensure that people are voting in the fall, and some of our DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts as well. So there's lots of other projects around different areas of interest for our community members as well. So everything can be found on our website, and I hope that some of you might be engaged with our community this summer.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Rabbi Joel Seltzer.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm doing this webinar up from my camp house where we are for the last couple of days to actually do some brainstorming about the launch of our virtual program. And I say that because being up here is also a reminder of just what kind of sadness many of us who were expecting camp to happen this summer are still experiencing. Those are the professionals, those are the parents, and those are the kids. And so just want to give a huge shout out to all the parents that I know are watching us right now. We feel that, and all of us here are going to try our best to give moments of joy and meaning to your children, our campers this summer. So Camp Around the Poconos. Oh, and I should say this too. Although I've been the executive director of Camp Around the Poconos for 8 years now, most importantly, I recently became a resident of Cherry Hill, New Jersey. So you'll see me around the Fox Hollow neighborhood now, and it's nice to be a part of this webinar. So we view ourselves as an organization that runs 3 camps, essentially. We have our day camp in suburban Pennsylvania, Philadelphia. We have our overnight camp, of course, and then we have our special needs offerings. And so months ago when COVID really began to hit, we began to ask ourselves right away, how do we make sure that we're delivering programming online for each of those communities in unique ways that they want? And so we started with some just offline, like us online and sort of like March and April and May stuff. But as we got closer to the camp cancellation moment, we asked our parents and campers what they wanted. What they wanted was quintessential camp moments, those things that sort of typify the summer. So that's helped us think about how do we deliver those. They want, and we want, the near peer mentorship component that is so important to the work that we all do. That's the, I can tell them 1,000,000 times to do something, but when a 19-year-old tells them, that's a hero for them. That is such an important part of the Jewish leadership development. That's an experience at all of our camps. They want relationships, of course, and what have we been missing the most in these last 100 days? It's physical proximity, yes, but also that feeling of being with friends, of socializing. And of course, we thought also very deeply about our graduating campers, our oldest age group who were losing this Gesher summer of theirs. So what did we end up cooking up? And I also want to give a shout out to my colleagues here, each and every one of you who had to go through an experience of figuring out, what the possibilities of camp were. And then within 24 hours, pivoting now to the how do we learn how to breathe underwater and offer a different vision of Machaneh this Kait. So shout out to everybody. But what are we offering? So starting on, and I think I'll throw this up in the chat too. Starting on Monday, we're launching a month of virtual programming for Ramah Day Camp, Camp Ramah on the Poconos, Tikva programs. They're open to everyone. Ultimately, day camp's going to occupy about a 9 to 11 a.m. space each morning. We're partnering with Perlman Jewish Day School to help us with some chugim and things like that. Our Tikva programs for campers with special needs, we'll have at least two periods per day, tefillah, prayers, but also some activity. And then the 4 to 6 p.m. slot is going to be mostly occupied by our overnight campers. We did hire a team both at day camp and overnight camp, mostly of volunteer staff members who will give about 6 hours of programming per week. And again, going back to that relationship building piece, we really feel like having a counselor on a Zoom, a couple of counselors, is going to really drive interest from our kids here. And then overlaying on that are not only National Ramah Chugim and initiatives and things like that, but we're going to make sure we're bringing aspects of Ramah to the larger community. So a public Kabbalat Shabbat, where Wednesday is going to be our Pulat Erev that's open to everyone. So the trivia contest will go to alumni and not just to campers. So trying to offer a little bit of everything. I did want to just add one other thing of what we've learned in the last 3 months here. I think 2 things that we've certainly learned. One is how important camp is. And the idea, and by the way, I say this tongue in cheek a little bit, and each one of us works really hard to make sure our camp programming is top notch. But I also think we learned that camp programming doesn't matter as much as we thought it did. That really the relationships between the kids, and like I said, those near peer mentors, that's what makes the lifelong impact of the camp experience. And we know that's not going away. If anything, it's even bigger and better. And then the second learning piece is, wow, we have a tool now to engage our community through 10 months of the year in some really powerful and effective ways. And I think none of us kind of, saw this coming 4 months ago, but now to what extent are we going to use some Zoom platforms during next year to drive recruitment, engagement, retention, alumni efforts, all of those things. So that's all.
Thank you, Rabbi. A lot of good stuff, and I know the viewers at home can't see, but each one of you, as you speak, all of our panelists are nodding in thorough agreement, and it's really beautiful for me to get to see, and we'll go back to gallery view in a little bit. But first, I want to hand it over to Rachel.
Thank you so much, Charlene, and good to see everybody, even if I can't see you. So we're really excited. I'm Rachel Zivick. I'm the principal of Kalman Brown Academy. And for the first time, we are entering into some summer activities. We're a school, so usually our season is September to June. But like Joel said, one of the silver linings of this experience is we were able to see how we could expand. So after a very successful pivot to online learning at Kalman Brown Academy, we were thrilled to be able to enter into a partnership with the JCC, JCC Medford, and Sarah Simon, I know we'll talk more about that, to offer some online experiences over the summer. So really what we're offering is once a week, starting July 13th, we're offering 3 different courses that will be an hour per week on a weekday. One is with STEM, with our amazing STEM coordinator. This is for K-5 kids, campers. The STEM program will be really a design thinking challenge with lots of hands-on experiences, including coding and 3D design. All of the materials will be provided, so you won't have to scavenge in your house for the toilet paper roll and popsicle stick and the makey that you probably don't even know what that is, and it's not what it sounds like. It's actually something pretty high tech. So we'll have a STEM program. We're going to have a Hebrew program. We're really proud at KBA that we are a Hebrew immersion program. We have some fabulous Hebrew teachers. So that's going to be more of a conversational game-based class. We're going to take an inventory of who signs up, and then we'll target the level based on who is in the class. And our third option is going to be a theater option. Our amazing technical director of the KBA shows is offering a theater option, and all at the end of the program, she's going to put together a virtual play, a virtual musical. She's also working with a musical director, so the students who sign up for this get a little voice coaching, etc. So for those who really enjoy the fabulous plays that JCC Medford puts on every year, this is an opportunity to participate still in this virtually and maybe get an even wider reach. People can experience and watch this show from the comfort of their own home in their PJs. So those are the 3 virtual offerings that we are so proud that we are partnering with JCC Medford to offer. And then I'll make one more plug. As an educator, it's really important, I have to say this, for kids to read over the summer. So please, to prevent the summer slide, that's the one thing I'll say is the biggest preventer of the summer slide. If you can encourage your kids to read 20 to 30 minutes a day, even if you have to bribe them, there's nothing wrong with that. Please go ahead and do that. The libraries have some really cool summer programs. Cherry Hill is opening up for business again. They have an online, really cool summer reading challenge, etc. And finally, you can model yourself how you're growing and learning through your own reading. And Charlene is kind enough to include a suggested reading list for parents in the follow-up email that she'll be sending. Some really good books for you all to enjoy during the downtime that you'll have this summer. And so that's what's going on at Kalman Brown Academy, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Rachel. And as a parent of a 4-year-old who had to scour for toilet paper rolls, thank you. I greatly appreciate that. And actually, you dovetail beautifully into Sarah, our final speaker. And then after Sarah, we'll do a little bit of rapid fire questions. I've had some from before and some in the chat. Feel free to keep using the Q&A to ask more. So Sarah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you. This is a very special panel to sit on. I really adore working with every single one of the colleagues on this panel, so I feel very fortunate. As Rachel said, we are working on we actually have 4 different virtual class opportunities for this summer. In addition to the 3 that Rachel mentioned, we also have a magic class once a week, which is with professional magician Chad Juros. He is actually our magic specialist for Camp Aaron during our normal in-person program summers. And that program is for 7 to 13-year-olds and also provides you with a bag of supplies for magic tricks. So it should be a lot of fun. He's a phenomenal educator with a very good story. So we're really excited for that. We are also in the process of offering a virtual Gesher program for our teens who are entering 9th grade. For us, Gesher is our LIT program, our Leaders in Training. And so we will be providing professional and employment training virtually for those teens so that they have the opportunity for priority hiring opportunities for next season because they would have missed that experience by not being at camp this summer. The one other virtual piece I want to mention, because I want to play off of what Rachel just said, is we have a really wonderful relationship with Top Tutors LLC, which is a local tutoring organization in our community. And they are providing virtual tutoring for the summer, both in reading and math. So if there are families with children who need some extra support or just want to avoid the summer slide, they're providing that virtual tutoring, which is a great opportunity. And I highly agree with reading over the summer as well. Our early childhood department at the Catch JCC has 2 programs that they are offering as well. They're offering a virtual camp experience just for children ages 3 to 6, which is a daily virtual experience with multiple activities throughout the day. And then they're also offering a program called J Hearts, which is like a babysitting and tutoring service. So you can actually hire a teacher or a babysitter through that program to come into your home who've been trained by JCC staff, which is a great opportunity as well. Now, we are also offering some small scale in-person programming this summer, which is really what I want to focus on. The first is coming up in just a few weeks. We are running Family Camp. It very much goes to the question that we get all the time from parents: when do we get to come to camp? And so for the first time ever, because we have the ability this summer, we're excited to offer these family camp days. We are running 9 days of family camp, July 7th, 8th, 9th, 14th, 15th, 16th, and 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. The days are selling out. We have 2 days that are full already. And your family gets to come and be its own bunk. So it allows you to have that physically distanced experience. You're going to get to enjoy the favorite camp activities, things like boating and archery and arts and crafts and STEM and swim and a barbecue lunch as a family. So we're really, really excited for that. You can sign up with another family if that is your comfort level. So you and another family can choose to travel around camp together. But it's going to be a great opportunity for families to come. We have a number of families who are signed up where the parents of the campers were also campers themselves, a number of years ago. So that's just very special for us to see things come full circle. We're very excited. And then the last program that we're offering is Summer Fun at the JCC Camps at Medford, which is going to be 5 weeks of in-person programming. It is a very modified number of participants. Our normal camp season has about 1,300 campers. And so we have a much, much smaller program. We're looking at about 1/5 of that for the program. Monday to Thursday, it is drop off and pick up only. And no instructional swim, it is free swim only, but we are able to physically distance the kids because we are very blessed to have a beautiful outdoor property. One of the things, we were also on that Department of Health call yesterday. We're very fortunate that we have this great facility that allows us to space participants out throughout the 120 acres. So we're really looking forward to that. Those spots are filling up as well. So if there's interest, we recommend signing up soon. And I see that there are a couple questions coming in the chat. Do you want me to answer them, Charlene? Yeah, okay. So Stephanie, we are hiring lifeguards for both family camp and for the summer fun program. They do have to be already certified. We are not able to certify any new guards. So as long as you are certified, then that is not a problem. We are not providing instructional swim, as the closeness of the child to the instructor is really not allowed for this summer. Yes, we do have, if Jocelyn, if your daughter was supposed to be a counselor, have her email me and we can touch base. We are filling up our spots, but we do have a few available spaces. And then the question for family camp is if it rains. For some reason, if the weather is supposed to be really not nice for the day, we're going to cancel in the morning, and you can choose to either move to another open day or to get a refund. We're not going to hold family camp for where you to come for one day of camp for it to be a rainy day and you to be stuck playing games in our pavilion. It's just not worth it for your experience. So we will, and we're also very open to, if there's interest, we'll add additional days of family camp if we have enough families interested. Are we hiring anyone who is already hired for JCC camps? We are hiring some staff who have already been hired for JCC camps. At this point, as I said, we are pretty fully staffed, but as more children start to register, more counselor positions will open. Excuse me. So we're getting there, and we're really excited. It was heartbreaking to make the decision to not hold our full camp experience this summer, as I know that, you know, for the same thing goes, I know that Lisa and Virgil as well, that it was a gut-wrenching decision. We are excited to be able to provide some Camp Sunshine this summer in whatever way possible, and create it in a really positive way. Important to know that we do have 2 nurses on site at all times, both for summer fun, we have 2 nurses on site. We also will have a nurse on site even for family camp, just in case. And, you know, there will be specific restrictions in place related to the requirements by the Department of Health, and families will get that information upon registration.
Thank you, Sarah. So I still, I know we're at about a half hour, but I would still love to hear at least one more time from everybody. Jill, I'd love to start back with you. BBYO, and to clarify, Jill works for BBYO National, and Sarah's information for local was put in the chat. You're really the first national brand to pivot online. Can you share a little bit about that experience with us?
Yeah, I will say our team was incredible. Basically, over the weekend, we went offline and we went out of it being in person, and they developed a platform in about 4 days. And so that platform is called On Demand. Some of you have seen it. If you haven't, I would totally recommend going to BBYO On Demand, and I can get you the link for that. But we learned a lot during that period. One of the things we became, we've always been a global organization. We have 54 countries that we serve, but this became a platform where we were truly global. We would have teens from the US who were staying up till 3 a.m. to do yoga with teens from the former Soviet Union. And we'd have teens from Argentina participating in, you know, from all over the country or all over the world. A much easier platform than an in-person experience to globalize. A second thing we learned was really, we had a lot of speakers willing to donate their time. So if you look at our platform, we have speakers like Mark Cuban and lots of business leaders from across the world, really. And because everybody was stuck at home, an hour of their time was a very easy ask. So you'll see these speakers woven throughout our summer program. So if your teens are attending CLTC or Movement Makers or the leadership programs, they'll have access to incredible speakers, many of which are alums. And the last thing that was really interesting that we learned was online platform gave parents would sit with their teens, and so it was kind of an insight into what BBYO was doing. So it's the first time parents were actually participating in our programs in mass and could see the impact that it was having on their teens. So just a really interesting experience. We had very positive experience from virtual. I will say probably many of you are experiencing this similar kind of Zoom burnout. Our teens are definitely not as interested in participating in like one-off large speakers right now. And I think the cohort model that all of you are building for your camps is going to be really effective because it's helping them build community versus just kind of hearing from an exciting speaker, which that was popular at the beginning and now less so.
Yeah, I think Jill BBYO does a great job on staying current and really, as we've had conversations, very data oriented and really gets to stay above and on top of what is happening. So thank you. Let's jump to Rachel for a second. Rachel, you started to mention, the summer slide and reading. Can you give us one more tip? Because I know parents are probably very stressed out after last semester going into next.
Yes. Okay, so just a quick follow-up on the summer reading. I know that that's not so easy. One of the ways, though, that people make it work is they do summer reading book clubs. So whether it's with friends or neighbors or grandparents seem to be an easy ask. Even if they read the summer reading together, they're happy to be asked. So that's just a thought about how to make sure that the reading happens. Book clubs are really, really fun. So the other suggestion I might make is podcasts. There are a million podcasts that are really, really super. I'm going to chat you guys my 4 favorite. The first 2 are more informational, sort of nonfiction. The second 2 are more fiction. They really are for all ages. Even I have a 6-year-old and I have a 12-year-old, and they can all listen at the same time. And they get something different out of it, but it's also like a moment of peace for you. Some of them are shorter and some of them are longer, but they're all very engaging. So sometimes it's a little trial and error to find the one that works best for your family, but it might also give you a moment of peace to get a couple things done. So I'm going to chat to you guys my 4 favorite. That would be my other summer slide prevention tip. Thanks, Charlene.
Thanks, Rachel. We are huge Wow in the World fans.
Ah, that was my first one. Way to go.
By far, that is one of our favorites. And if your kids still have coronavirus questions, they did a good podcast. And Tumble is another, we're a science house. So Tumble did another great one where they answered kids' questions on COVID. Rabbi Kahan, we're going to jump back to you. So you are going to be in person. Can you walk us through some of the different safety measures and different things you are doing for your in-person camp?
Thank you, Charlene. And Sarah, I'm glad that the JCC now is also able to offer that, as I'm sure together have been watching the health youth website, the health department website of the state of New Jersey, and following all their guidelines as it trickles out. From the get-go, we got in touch with an infectious disease doctor and a children's doctor that we had immediately on board as we were developing and deciding to make this in-camp program, which they helped us create a parent handbook and really try to implement. I mean, we didn't get into the active role of camp, but implement these safety protocols and guidelines in training staff and setting up the structure. We have all our PPE equipment in line, the signs printed out, and all these measures that the children and the staff and the parents need to focus on. And the goal is before camp to have a virtual Zoom gathering with all the parents and really to explain to them, because I don't want the camp experience to be, oh, don't do this, you can't do this, be careful. I want it to be, we're doing this, we're excited, and so on. So the more we educate the staff, the parents, as they prepare before they come, for example, there's a 11-question checklist that you need to ask from every parent and child. So instead of having the parent have to fill it out right there and then, if they have a pre-printed booklet that every day they could just rip out and check it off, so it gives them the entrance to camp experience. We're trying to balance both. Follow the safety protocols to the extreme, but on the other hand, when a child walks in or when a parent walks in, they get that camp feel in a safe way. So every day is a new, as Sarah, you said that yesterday was this webinar. Every day there's more and more development, and I say a day in COVID is a full year. There's so many things that could change from today to tomorrow, associated with the Torah portion, right? The spies had a day for a year. I feel the same way. And so who knows, next week, this webinar could be totally different if we hold it next week, because there could be so much more. So we're looking forward for positivity moving forward.
Thank you. And that's a great reminder. All of our experts on the panel are staying up to CDC guidelines every day, every phone call. But really, we want to encourage everyone to do so as well and to figure out what program best fits you. So Rabbi Joel, you mentioned, and you hit on a few notes about relationships, right? I think that that's one of the really big questions people are having right now. How do we develop the relationships and friendships? And I know Rama does a great job at that. Can you speak a little bit more to advice for people?
Yeah, and let me sort of explain how we're approaching it from two different directions. One is to sort of the newer camper, and then the other is, as I mentioned earlier, the Gesher camper, the older camper, the teenager, and even those kids who were really so excited about their final camper summer. So for the younger kids, you know, we're really looking at it as an opportunity to create new friends, and that's something that's been missing from our world in the last 3 months. We haven't been making a lot of new friends, and so thinking about using the tool and creating bunk activities, about 2 or 3 per day. That's why we ended up leaning more towards those bunk activities than, let's say, the arts and crafts session, was because we felt like we had a greater opportunity to kind of craft relationship building through Zoom activities. Obviously also trying to deliver Jewish content in that way, because we're really cognizant at Ramah about the loss of significant Jewish teaching and learning this year. 7 days a week is just, 24 hours a day is what we're used to. And so we're going to have to infuse it in everything we do this summer, just to make sure we don't lose there isn't a summer slide, right, in Jewish education as well. And then when it comes to our older kids, and, Ronit Boyd knows this very well in her house, we have an amazing team that was poised to be the counselors for this oldest age group. And they've all continued on with us through this summer and are trying their best to create the most amazing program for our graduating 16-year-olds. So everything you saw on that screen is there, but they're also memiting, meaning those Gesher kids will end up zooming in to some of those bunk activities of the younger age groups, that they'll have their counselor in training type experiences, that they will start to be looked up to as near peer mentors. And those counselors are so important to us. The 25 or so counselors who are going to be part of our virtual team are really going to draw the kids in and focus on that relationship building. So again, you can do anything you want to do. You just can't do everything you want to do, said Coach John Wooden. And I think that's really true with the virtual platform also. And so to the extent that we can build relationships, make new friendships, and make sure there's near peer mentorship as our focus this summer, that's what we're going to try to do.
Thank you. Lisa, you touched on civic engagement, and I know Camp Harlem and URJ really focuses a lot on social justice and civic engagement. Can you touch more on that?
Sure, I'm happy to. Among the things that have turned our world upside down, there's so much just beyond the medical condition and the pandemic. And a lot of people in this particular moment in time feel compelled to take action in different ways, and we're trying to enable and support that. And so Harlem is part of this larger reform movement-wide effort. I will actually put a link in the chat. It's called the Every Voice, Every Vote campaign, led by the Religious Action Center of Reform Judaism. And what they're trying to do is just mobilize all different community members in all different communities across the US to ensure that as many people as possible are able to exercise their right to vote in the fall. And so that looks a little bit different in every community. We're working both in New Jersey and in Pennsylvania with community members to do everything from examining what barriers exist to getting people to the polls, to looking at voter turnout for different age demographics to see if we might be able to target outreach and ensure that specific voter demographics are able to make it to the polls. It's not a partisan effort. It's really just about democracy and trying to encourage people to vote. And so Harlem feels very strongly about that. And we're trying to link with our community partners to get people involved in this effort. So whether you're involved in a Reform synagogue or a camp, or just someone who's concerned about any issue and wants to be sure people vote, this is an opportunity to get involved throughout the summer leading up to the elections.
Thank you, Lisa. And Sarah, can you share a little bit more about, I know one of your passions and things you were working on in the past is really mental health, and how does that come out at camp? Can you share a little bit about more what you're doing this year, and maybe even more what you're seeing this year compared to other years?
Absolutely. So the mental health of the children who are going through the pandemic was probably one of the biggest factors in our fighting to try to keep camp open this summer. And it was the hardest piece when we made the decision not to have our full camp experience. We were very blessed this year to be awarded the Yedid Nefesh grant through the Foundation for Jewish Camp, which is a grant that provides camps with the funding to hire a full-time mental health professional to serve on their seasonal staff. It was an incredible opportunity. We hired a fantastic mental health professional. She is a school guidance counselor here in South Jersey. And unfortunately, though we're not running our full camp experience and we don't have her for this summer, we had a lot of great training opportunities with her. There was an article most recently in the Times that talked about the children of the pandemic. And we know that for our children, and I know that every one of these panelists is a parent, and we know that for our children, the impact is going to be felt from the last few months for a very long time. And it affects them socially, it affects them emotionally, and we as youth professionals really have, a hard job to do to help get them comfortable again. So we are going to be training our staff who are working in person with children pretty significantly, because we also know that the kids are going to come back feeling very differently to any sort of in-person activities than they ever have in the past. People are going to have different fears. They're going to have a harder time separating from their parents. It's going to be a difficult process, and we want to support those children as much as humanly possible. So we have a lot of training we're working on, staff training, conversations with parents and things like that to ensure that we're supporting everyone in the best way possible. It's really vital to us.
Thank you, Sarah. And a very quick logistical question. Someone asked how you're going to split up into groups, and maybe Rabbi Kahan, you can answer the same question after Sarah.
Sure. So one of the requirements by the Department of Health and by what was recommended through the ACA field guide that was provided to camps is that children are allowed to be in a camp program if they are in these small, what they're calling family units. So what'll happen in our facility is that children will be with a small group, a max of 10 children and 2 counselors. That is who they will travel with all day, and that is who they will remain with all day. So there is no opportunity for them to cross paths. It's not like, we in a normal camp summer have free choice and electives, which we love to provide the kids the autonomy to have those, to make those decisions. This year we can't divide in that same way. Every group will travel together to an activity. Groups will be washing their hands and hand sanitizing between each activity. Any equipment used will be sanitized between every activity using CDC required cleaning products. And then for moments when we can't physically distance, like a pickup and drop off where the kids are all coming in around the same time, that is when things like face coverings are going to be required. So once the children are in their family unit alone, they'll be allowed to take those face coverings off. But as they're arriving, they will need to wear face coverings, as will staff.
Thanks, Sarah. Rabbi Kahan was nodding your head.
Yes, those are all the proper guidelines that we are putting in place. What we're doing also, as we create a group, we're actually going to give them a color. And we're going to give each group, whether it's a headband, a hat, or something that they know that that's their bunk color, that's their group color. So it's a positive feel. So they know that this is the area where they need to hang out. So if I see a red crossing over to the green line, we know that there's a challenge here. So it also gives for the staff or anyone that's not within the groups to identify. So we are working with those guidelines, again, dividing the groups into 10, giving them their family unit. And we're also trying to create that they will see other units. Of course, from a distance, so it just gives that general feel. It's not just an isolated group. So we're working with that.
Thank you. So in just a second, I'm going to open up to gallery view and let everyone have a final word. But one thing I would love to add to this conversation is, oh, Sarah and I entered it. Okay, we're good. So JFNA for our older demographic, for our 20 to 25-year-olds, is putting together a fantastic internship. It's a 3-week program. Again, it is 20 to 25-year-olds. If you complete it, there is a $500 stipend that we are running. So I put that in the chat. Also, we are beginning conversations and dialogues and a listening campaign that some of our panelists are involved in with our South Jersey teens. If you are a parent of a teen or a teen and would like to be involved in that, you can feel free to email me. And now so fair warning to our panelists, I'm going into gallery view so they'll be able to see all your wonderful faces. There we all are. Excellent. So just to go around and I'll go in the order of the screen that I guess I have in front of me, just a final word. And I know Rabbi Joel, you already kind of mentioned what insights can you share. If there's any other insight, quick minute, not minute, quick second advice or anything you share and you've seen from really your expertise. You've been in touch with so many teens and families over the last couple months, and I'd love to hear your words of wisdom. Words of wisdom, that's what we will call it. All right, so let's start. Rabbi Kahan, you're in my first square, so let's start with you.
I'm honored. Just my words of wisdom is for the past few months, I've been running a camp on my own. I have 7 children at home. So this was quite a nice learning experience to really give them the leadership role, whether who's making dinner tonight and who is babysitting and who is going to do the laundry. So really, I've been in the camp zone for the past few months, but really it also gave us the focus really to identify what is essential and what is external. You know, just a quick word of wisdom, you know, in the Torah portion, it said that when they traveled into the desert, some of the vessels were carried on the shoulders and some were placed onto the wagons. And we really discovered what in life could be placed into the Amazon wagon and what really we need to put on our shoulders. And we realized that children, teens, family units, and in-person interaction is what needs to be placed on our shoulders. Everything else, or beyond that, the external stuff could be placed into the wagon. So for me, being with my children, which it was a great 3 months. Yes, I did fear when they came home right after Purim. I have 2 boys studying out of town. Came home, we said, oh my goodness, how are we going to pull together in this long-term you away from school and so on. But it's really been the most pleasant and enjoyable experience. And it gave us as parents the opportunity to recognize what children really contribute. You know, not that we don't know, but being there, we realize that they are professionals. They're professional bakers, they're professional cooks, they are household, and it's fascinating. I walk out of my house this morning and to go to the Chabad in Medford, and I see my other one taking the baby, putting him in the carriage. Oh, we're taking a walk across the street to the park without even asking. So really, it gave us the opportunity to realize the leadership roles that our children could have, and hopefully we can transmit that to the campers that we're interacting with, whether it's virtually or in person in a very safe way. That's my words of wisdom.
Thanks, Rabbi. Rachel, you're next.
Okay, I think I've learned sort of 2 things. One, I already knew, but I just am so humbled by this. I think teachers rule. I mean, teachers, they're amazing human beings and they deserve just so much credit, and we're all so grateful for what they've done for us, our families, our kids during this time. I guess the other thing is, you know, it's okay to applaud ourselves for rising to the occasion, not just our kids, but us, the parents. We rose to the occasion, we did the best that we could, and to also forgive ourselves for not being perfect and for the moments that we didn't rise to the occasion or we fell a little bit short. That's also important to show our kids that that's okay too. So those are the things that I learned. We're all trying our best.
Thanks, Rachel. Rabbi Joel.
So, you know, one thing I've been thinking a lot about is what is the essence of camp? And if I sort of zoom in on the IKAR of the camp experience, can I then approximate that? So as we've said, relationships is part of that. And okay, even if I can't have as many relationships in person as I want this summer. What does it mean to think of our own Bayit and our own Shalom Bayit and say, how do we build relationships this summer with our own family members? I think a lot about time spent outside and how important that is to the camp experience. And so I think to the extent that we can be outside, have our kids outside, not on screens, right? Every one of those kids that loves their screens during the year loves giving them back, right, to us and not using them in the summer. So being outside, and I think trying new experiences is the other thing that, as Rabbi Kahan was saying, like, whether it's cooking or that new art project or whatever it is, giving our kids the self-leadership to be able to find those new experiences. I'm calling it the Sandlot summer. That feeling of 1960s America and the Sandlot movie, and let our kids ride bikes much farther away from our house than perhaps we would have 3 months ago. I think that's an important thing for us as parents to recognize, that maybe some things we thought were risky pre-pandemic don't feel so risky anymore, knowing what else we're struggling with.
Thanks, Rabbi. And if anyone wants to offer to teach my kids how to ride a bike, just nod your head. I'll send them over now that you're close by. Lisa.
I've appreciated the wisdom shared already, and those definitely resonate. One thing that I've been thinking a lot about is what we want versus what we need. And even in the context of my own children, thinking about what I want for them, or what I wanted perhaps out of the last few months versus what they actually needed, which seemed to be much simpler than what I had envisioned for them. And I think the same thing goes, professionally, as we've tried to figure out what to provide for our community. It's really, getting down to the essential pieces, not a robust program, certainly not one that requires them to be online all the time, but as Joel said, what they need, which is nourishing their soul and those relationships. And then I think that sort of led to the discovery of just, let's do less. Like in general, I think doing less right now has been really meaningful and fulfilling and has simplified everything personally and professionally. So doing less actually has been such a relief lately.
Thank you, Lisa. Very powerful. Sarah.
I think that my feelings are very similar to some of my colleagues, but I would say two pieces that I've really walked away with over the last few months. One is that we are in the business of relationships. And so for us as professionals who we work with people, that's what we do, to have to pivot and find a way to maintain those relationships in a very different way has been really interesting, and also really beautiful, because I feel that in some ways, by not being in person, we've had the opportunity to maintain or find relationships or rebuild relationships that we might not have had otherwise. I find that on a personal level as well, that I've been able to find the time to reach out to friends I haven't seen in years from college and high school, and that's been an incredibly special experience. I think the other piece that I've walked away with is how important it is to take the time to enjoy the very simple things and go back to the activities that were special in our childhood. The time spent with your children playing Legos and doing a craft project and playing outside in a sprinkler. And I apologize, my office light is turning off as I'm talking. So there we go. So it turns off automatically. But to really have those moments where you're bonding over those very simple things. And I think the same thing goes for camp. The memories that children make during a summer are not from the best new wow that they're going on in terms of programming. It's the moments that they're walking in between their activities where they make the most special relationships, or where they're sitting together over lunch, or where they're singing together. And we can have those opportunities still. And I think that that's really valuable and something I've learned both as a professional, but also as a parent over the last few months.
Thank you, Sarah. And Jill.
Yeah, I mean, what I've learned over the past couple of months is how hard this has been on teenagers in particular. I think I've watched, cohorts graduate and, not have graduation, not have prom, not have all those experiences that we'd like them to have. And I also realize, how important our organizations, our variety of organizations are. And I think, the biggest thing I'm learning is just how exciting 2021 is going to be, and how our summers are going to be radically different. And I think Sarah, you said it as well, as these connection points that we're building are just incredible. And we're all looking forward to bringing everybody back together in person in a year. So, stay tuned. We're looking forward to it.
A huge thank you to Jill and to all of our panelists. One more link in the chat for you. It's a lot. I'll copy it all. If it doesn't have every chat link that we've put in so far, we'll go in and make sure everybody's link is on that page. But we tried to compile a really nice South Jersey list. Thank you all. Really, I don't use Facebook that often, but I wrote on my Facebook that I'm honored to be able to host this expert group. And I truly mean that from the bottom. Each one of you puts so much passion and energy and love into every single moment you breathe, the work you do. Jewish communal work, it really, I think it finds you because it's what's in your soul. And each one of you have decided to take that on and really bring it out to all of our large community and youth and teens and families and parents and grandparents and every single person that you guys are touching. And I just greatly appreciate it. And thanks for spending an hour with me, my longest webinar to date. So with that, thank you and good evening. Bye, everyone.